in Georgia did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you?
I have a sneaking suspicion that I know why. You're 81 years old, and you should be in a nursing home. You should be in a hospice under the supervision of adults. Honestly, it's elder abuse making this man be president.
That you were having that bad night.
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was...
Let's talk about my bad night, please. I think the bad night sort of dawned on me when I started having my bad night when I shit my diaper.
Answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that, but I realized that I just wasn't in control.
I'm not blaming it, but I am. I am blaming it.
We took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done. And part of it is what I said when I ran was I wanted to do three things. Restore some decency to the
I want to shit, fart, and cum.
office. Restore some support for the middle class instead of trickle-down economics, go from the middle out and the bottom up. The way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better. And unite the country.
But what has all that work over the last 3.5 years cost you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night, bad run. But, you know.
I'm sensing a new, movie idea. Joe Biden's bad night. Look, I had one bad night, okay? I'm top tier. I'm all there. Okay, sir. Well, what did you have for breakfast? Excuse me?
No, George, I'm optimistic about this country.
George, I'm optimistic. George, I am opportunistic about this.
I don't think we're a country of losers, that he points out. I don't think America's in tough shape. I think America's on the cusp of breaking through in so many incredible opportunities. This next term, I'm going to make sure we have straighten out the tax system.
Look, I'm firing on all cylinders. Look, I can articulate my words.
I'm going to make sure we're in a situation where we have health care for all people.
That's it, Joe Biden. You had a bad day. You're taking one down. You've done. That's what it is. Joe Biden's bad day. Just had one bad day. You had a bad day. Look, I had a bad night. How many times have we heard that in the first 6 minutes of this interview? Motherfucker genocides tens of thousands of Palestinian children, and he has one bad night, and you guys just want to fucking nuke him. That's not fair, guys.
We're in a position where we have child care and elder care, free up, and all.
You need elder care, motherfucker.
All these things. One thing
You are the thing that you are advocating for, the thing that you need.
Proudest of is, remember when my economic plan was put forward, a lot of the mainstream economists said it's not going to work. Well, guess what? You now have 16 Nobel laureates, 16 of them in economics, saying that Biden's next term would be based on what he wants to do.
16 Nobel laureates. Yeah, who are the economists? It sounds real significant. Aren't most Nobel laureates fucking war criminals?
Enormous success.
Anyway.
Trump's plan would cause a recession with significantly increased inflation. I've made great progress, and that's what I plan on doing, and we can do this.
I understand that, and I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation.
What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Will you be alive next year this time?
Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 100?
Proceeds to have a mental lapse. He's being asked about his mental lapse, and he proceeds to have a mental lapse. Now he's going to talk about how he can run a marathon.
10 flat? No, but I'm still in good shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
Are you more frail? Look at him. He's got the button. He's got the button undone at the top. He's ready for business, folks.
Come keep my schedule.
I know you spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me. He said, "You're exhausted." I have medical doctors travel me everywhere. Every president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. They don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
Of what you're doing?
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive?
It's like I think he forgets like what he's talking about in the middle. He's like, an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. No, it's an ongoing assessment of your health, not what you're doing.
Evaluation.
I get a full neurological test every day.
What the fuck did you just say, Joe Biden?
Full neurological test every day.
Don't try to go 4 or 5 syllables deep into a word.
Neurological and cognitive evaluation.
I get a full neurological test every day with me, and I've had a full physical. I've been a Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes. The answer is
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
no one said I had to. No one said. They said I'm good.
Would you be willing to
Look,
undergo?
Joe Biden says he's fine. Joe Biden says he's good. Look, all the people he's talked to, Netanyahu said the Israeli government's fine. We're doing our best over here. Hitler said, hey, look, he's following the rules, okay?
An independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive.
Yeah, okay, everybody, it's a false alarm. Whoops, glad we heard it from Joe Biden's mouth himself.
Test and release the results to the American people.
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do. You know, not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world.
He has a cognitive test every day. He's fine, guys. He receives a cognitive test every day.
That's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, well, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but with Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we were doing with regard to
I'm doing presidential
with regard
shit,
to
folks.
expansion of NATO and whether it's going to stick. I'm taking on Putin. I mean, every day, there's no day I go through that are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you
That scares the fuck out of me because you can't even fucking speak.
have been doing that, and the American people have been watching, yet their concerns about your age and your health are growing. So that's why I'm asking to reassure them.
I'm busy genociding the Palestinians, Jack. What do you think? I'm talking with the war criminal number 1. I'm talking with the war criminal number 2. It's a lot of brown poor people we're trying to kill, Jack. It's a lot.
Would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign. It's over 125 days.
Yeah. Time that you don't have. You were living on borrowed time, Joe Biden. He can't even get through that sentence. Did you hear him? It just looks like he's just running out of oxygen.
So
I'll
the
make
answer,
a decision.
the right answer right now is no. You don't want to do that right
Well,
now.
I've already done it.
You talked a lot about your successes at the beginning of this interview, and I don't want to dispute that. I don't want to debate that. But as you know, elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many
George, those are such prescient words.
people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that
George,
put NATO together. The future.
I'm the guy that put NATO together. I also have throat cancer.
No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought could happen. I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations.
AUKUS. Yeah, let's talk about AUKUS. How you're fucking escalating the Southeast Asia situation with China. Escalating, driving up the escalation ladder with China. Like, this guy's bragging about making the world less safe completely. Everybody knows that AUKUS is a deal between Australia, the United Kingdom, and the U.S. to provide Australia with a fleet of nuclear submarines, further hemming in, escalating basically, and baking in the Australians into the U.S. chain of command.
Nations, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got
Biden straining, leans in. He croaks.
Japanese to expand their budget. So I mean, and for example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip, and we invented the chip, that little chip for the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons. And so we used to have 40%, we're down to virtually nothing. So I get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position where we're going to own that industry again. We have, I mean, I just...
This guy's hard to, like, listen to.
Anyway,
don't you think?
I don't want to...
Yeah, I just-
hear about...
He can't. He's got no. Let's run that back. He's just can't even finish his point. Anyway,
out of Europe as well to help Ukraine.
let's
I'm the guy.
let's listen to him. He says he's the guy. Let's see what does Biden think of his crowning achievement?
It's over 125 days.
So the
Make
answer,
a decision.
the right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right
Well,
now.
I've already done it.
You talked a lot about your successes at the beginning of this interview, and I don't want to dispute that. I don't want to debate that. But as you know, elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin.
Okay, so he's bragging about expanding NATO and, once again, starting a war with Russia. Because, let's face it, the United States is at war with Russia via its proxy, Ukraine. And there's all sorts of information we could pour into to defend that argument that it is the United States at war with Russia and not Ukraine, as it's made to be. Even though, yes, Ukraine is at war with Russia, I'm not saying it's not, but it is largely the result of United States intervention, obviously, and it's United States supplied intelligence, weapons. You know, we're supplying all the means to conduct war, and in some cases we're even pulling the trigger. Like that, I believe that bomb that went off, or that missile that was shot into Crimea and killed the, children in Crimea, which is part of Russia. There's some evidence or speculation that it was actually the United States that shot that missile. And that was recent, about a week or so, or two ago. So he's the guy that put NATO together. He's the guy that nobody said he could expand it. Nobody said they could expand NATO. Joe Biden got it done, okay? Went to war with a nuclear power. That's a crowning achievement. Very good. Very good.
Putin down. No one thought it could happen.
Yeah, Putin is not... Putin is more powerful today than he was when Biden took office. So I don't know what he's smoking.
I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative. But
All escalation. I mean, all of his crowning achievements are escalating geopolitical conflicts, is basically what Biden is saying here.
AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations, out, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget.
I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. Not the Japanese. Sound like he wanted to say Japan, but he went with Japanese instead and totally fucked it up. But isn't that pretty revealing? I mean, what is Biden trying to come across as? A hawk in geopolitical escalating conflicts? He's saying, I escalated in Eastern Europe. I escalated in Southeast Asia. I escalated in the Middle East. Nobody said I could do it, I did it.
So, I mean, and for example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip, and we invented the chip, that little chip for the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons. And so we used to have 40%, we're down to virtually nothing. So I get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position where we're going to own that industry again. We have
What industry is this? The computer industry? The microchip computer? I mean, he's just not making a strong case, and it's sort of sounds like a rambling old man. I mean, of course, that's what he is, but you know, what is this point about 40% of the computer chip industry? And then he decided against the advice of his advisors, he got in the plane and he went to South Korea and convinced South Korean leaders to invest in the United States concerning, what, microchips? Is this what he's talking about?
I mean,
Invest basically in the military-industrial complex. So, yes, he's bringing the military-industrial complex is, widening its reach, is making more profits, right? So all of the things that he's listed have directly to do with war and a war economy, basically.
I just, anyway.
Yeah, and I just, anyway. Anyway, I don't really know where I was going with that. What was the question again? I know I listed some things, but it's just really telling that he is talking about all of these crowning achievements to his presidency, and they all have to do with war.
I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do.
I just want to see what was Stephanopoulos' question. Like,
not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation.
Okay, so he's trying to say, look, I'm a cognitive man. Okay, I have very deep cognitive abilities. I'm running the world over here. How am I running the world? I'm escalating everywhere. All right, anyway, let's keep going.
The guy that got 50 nations out to them to invest in the United States, billions of dollars. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did. Look.
What?
Great staff.
But I guess my point is, all that takes a toll. Do you have the mental and physical capacity to do it for another 4 years?
I believe so. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did.
I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did.
Look.
Biden tried to say a normal sentence, challenge impossible.
I'm running again because I think I understand best what has to be done to take this nation to a completely new level. We're on our...
He's going to a new level. He can take the nation to a completely new level.
way. We're on our way. And look, the decision recently made by...
You sure done a lot of murdering, Joe. You think you can murder anymore? You still up for the task of murdering people?
Supreme Court on immunity. The next president of the United States is not just about whether he or she knows what they're doing. It's not about a conglomerate of people making decisions. It's about the character of the president.
Is he really trying to say that the world's most powerful country is run by vibes and not conscious policy decisions, just run by the balls of the president, the character of the president? Run that back.
It's not about a conglomerate of people making decisions. It's about the character of the president. The character of the president is going to determine whether or not this Constitution is employed the right way.
Sounds pretty fascist to me. This guy's saying it's just me. It has nothing to do with any of the federal agencies that are being run in my administration or the people we have. It's funny because we were reading the Project 2025 earlier, and they say the exact opposite. They say although the president is depicted as this all-powerful man in movies and in our culture, in reality, like Hillary Clinton said, a village to raise a president. But in all seriousness, there's, as Project 2025 oddly was correct, is that, the presidency is, while it is very influential and powerful, it's also somewhat of a figurehead because obviously it can't, he's saying, I run the world. Personally, it's me. I'm doing all this. So that's what tells you that I have a superior cognitive ability. I'm doing all these things, but really it takes a whole administration of people, like the whole adage goes, personnel is policy. He's not making all these decisions himself, so that's literally ludicrous, but he's trying to come across as if he's the great man in history narrative. Y'all have heard of that, right? That this myth that history doesn't develop through historical materialism or through these laws of nature, but it's just the great man in history. It's Julius Caesar, it's Alexander the Great, it's Joe Biden. These are the people that are propelling history forward. Feels like it. Feels bad, man.
Let me ask you a tougher, more personal question. Are you sure you're being honest with yourself when you say you have the mental and physical capacity
Great
to serve another 4 years?
Yes, I am, because, George, the last thing I want to do is not be able to meet that. I think as someone,
Well, the first thing you're going to be able to do is meet your mate. You're not going to be lasting long, okay? Sorry for the dad joke, but that's true.
the senior economist and senior foreign policy specialist say, if I stop now, I'd go down in history as a pretty successful president. No one thought I could get done what we got done.
But are you being honest with yourself as well about your ability to defeat Donald Trump right now?
Yes, 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 yes.
You say that, and let me challenge you.
Sure.
Because you were close, but behind going into the debate. You're further behind now, by any measure. It's been a two-man race for several months. Inflation has come down. In those last few months, he's become a convicted felon, yet you're still falling further behind.
You guys keep saying that,
You're
George.
losing to a convicted felon, Joe Biden?
Look, you know polling better than anybody. Do you think polling data is accurate as it used to be?
I don't think
Polls, who needs them?
so, but I think when you look at all of the polling data right now, it shows that he's certainly ahead in the popular vote, probably even more ahead in the battleground states. And one of the other key factors there is it shows that in many of the battleground states, the Democrats who are
This feels more like an intervention than an interview. Kind of true.
running for Senate in the House are doing better than you are.
Well, that's not unusual in some states. But I carried an awful lot of Democrats last time I ran in 2020. Look, I remember them telling me the same thing in 2020. I can't win. The polls show I can't win. Remember 2020, the red wave was coming. Before the vote, I said, that's not going to happen. We're going to win. We did better in an off year than almost any incumbent president ever has done. It said in 2023, all the tough races, we're not going to win. I went into all those areas, all those districts, and we won.
All that is true, but 2020 was a close race. And your approval rating has dropped significantly since then. I think the last poll I saw was about 36%. The number of Americans who think you're too old to serve has doubled since 2020. Wouldn't a clear-eyed political calculus tell you that it's going to be much tougher to win in 2024?
Not when you're running against a pathological liar. Not
Yep,
when
there
you
it
haven't
is,
been
baby.
challenged.
Anyone but Trump, okay? That's his one card that he can play. Just anyone but Trump. We gotta get behind. Vote blue no matter who. I'm going against a pathological liar, okay? So you gotta vote for me. You gotta vote for, it's your choice is a corpse or a convict. Obviously, we're gonna choose a corpse. We got to. If we elect Trump, well then we're gonna be fascist. Goodbye to our democracy.
In a way that is about to be challenged. Not when people...
You've had months to challenge him.
Oh, I sure had months, but I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world.
That's right. That's right. You have been, Joe Biden. You have been doing a lot of wars around the world. Holy shit. He's like, look, I had time to do that. I didn't have time to do that. I couldn't challenge. I was busy murdering brown children across the world. What do you want me to do? Forget about it. Doing a bunch of wars, Jack. Who else is going to fucking kill those children? Yeah, that's right. It's a but Trump's a pathological liar, okay? This is the leftist, this is as left as it gets in America 2024. Genocide Joe. Genocide in Biden. War criminal extraordinaire. Sounding off on his achievements of escalating wars across the world in every hemisphere virtually. Can't think about domestic politics. He's too busy starting wars. These wars ain't gonna start themselves.
Like keeping NATO together. Like working... Anyway. But look,
Finish your point. Like keeping NATO together. You know what? Anyway, why didn't he finish? Well, because he already said that. Did he remember that he already said all this? He's like, let me revert back to my previous point. I kept NATO together. You didn't keep NATO together. You just escalated it. You just expanded it. Remember, Ukraine was a NATO-enhanced opportunities partner announced by the White House as such in 2021, months before the war broke out.
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. And when I'm behind, there's only one poll I'm really far behind. CBS poll and
New York,
That would be 2 polls, Jack. There's only 1 poll I'm really behind, the CBS and the other one. Well, that would be 2. And look, he can't even remember it.
Times and NBC both have you about 6 points behind in the popular vote.
That's exactly right. New York Times had me behind before anything happened to do with this race. Had me behind 10 points.
I wonder why.
10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially in the debate, the New York Times poll.
Just when you look at the reality of the
What's his argument is that he was behind before the debate and he's still behind now, and so nothing's changed, so the debate didn't hurt him really because he was already shitting the bed. I mean, what is your point?
Mr. President, I mean, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the electoral
By 7
college.
million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Nah.
Is it worth the risk?
Typical Zionist logic. Nuh-uh. I don't buy it.
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
You know, the heart of your case against Donald Trump is that he's only out for himself, putting his personal interest ahead of the national interest. How do you respond to critics who say that by staying in the race, you're doing the same thing?
Well, I don't think those critics know what they're talking about.
They're just wrong.
It's wrong. Look, Trump is a pathological liar. Trump is, he is. Have you ever seen anything Trump did that benefited somebody else, not him? You can't answer, I know.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any journalist has.
No, I know you have. I'm not being
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah.
I'm not being.
No. I wasn't. No, we're friends. We're all good. Wait, I gotta go back on this. This is kind of funny.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any journalist has.
No, I know you have. I'm not being
Yeah.
critical.
Don't you dare talk to me about questioning Trump.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical. But look, I mean,
Wouldn't want to do that. Wouldn't be prudent.
the man is a congenital liar. As I said, you
Congenital?
pointed out in that debate, he lied.
Congenital? I thought congenital heart disease maybe, but congenital liar?
27, 28 times the times, or whatever number, over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation, how this is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, with over a million people died. This is a guy who talks about wanting to get rid of the healthcare provisions we put in place. This is a guy who wants to give the power back to big pharma to be able to charge exorbitant prices for drugs. This is a guy who wants to undo every single thing I've done. Every single thing.
I understand that, and I understand that's why you want to stay in the race, but have you convinced yourself that only you can defeat him?
I convinced myself of 2 things. I'm the most qualified person to beat him, and I know how to get things done.
If you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
It depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
Well, I mean, on a more
die.
practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. Stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave the
But if they do,
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
you sure?
Well, yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I mean, if the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, get out of the race, I get out of the race, the Lord Almighty's not coming down. I mean, these
dead yet, Jack.
hypotheticals, George.
I ain't dead yet, Jack.
If all,
But it's not that hypothetical anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting, but it's been
well,
reported.
I've met with them. I've met with a lot of these people. I've talked with them regularly. I had an hour conversation with Hakeem. I had more time with them than Jim Clyburn. I spent time with many hours off and on the last little bit with Chuck Schumer.
in the
the lit-
Democratic
that's the
Party in the
litmus
House and the
test.
Senate that
The litmus test for Joe Biden being president is if Joe Biden has a pulse or not. If he doesn't have a pulse, then he shouldn't be president. But if he has a pulse, he's fit for presidency.
They're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in. What will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question. It's not going to happen.
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
You saw it today. How many people do you get draw crowds like I drew today? You find any more enthusiastic than today?
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
You saw it today. How many people do you get draw crowds like I drew today? You find any more enthusiastic than today? Huh?
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
You can draw a big crowd, but what does he say? Who does he have? I'm the guy supposedly in trouble. We raised $38 million within 4 days after this. We have over 1 million individual contributors. Individual contributors. That's less than $200. I've not seen what you're proposing.
New camera shot.
You haven't seen the fall off in the polls. You haven't seen the reports of discontent in the Democratic Party, House Democrats, Senate Democrats.
I've seen it from the press.
You know, I've heard from dozens of your supporters over the last few days, and a variety of views, I grant you that. But the prevailing sentiment is this. They love you. And they will be forever grateful to you for defeating Donald Trump in 2020. They think you've done a great job as president, a lot of the successes you outlined. But they are worried about you and the country, and they don't think you can win. They want you to go with grace, and they will cheer you if you do. What do you say to
I
that?
see the vast majority are not where those folks are. I don't doubt there's some folks there. Have you ever seen a group at time when elected officials running for office aren't a little worried? Have you ever seen that? I've not. Same thing happened in 2020. Biden, I don't know, man, what's he gonna do? He may bring me down, he may.
Mr. President, I've never seen a president at 36% approval get reelected.
Well, I don't believe that's my approval rate. That's not what our polls show.
Right, fake
And if you
news.
stay in,
There's Joe Biden's version of fake news. Joe Biden is literally pulling a Donald Trump right now. As he talks about Trump being a pathological liar, Joe Biden is pulling a Trump. He's telling us polls are fake news. He doesn't have a 36% approval rating. Fact check. It's not what our polls show. Let's see. New York Times, Siena poll, and a Reuters. This dude's gonna get squashed. This is what happens when you vote blue no matter who. You get Trump. You get fascism. Remember the ratchet effect. That's what's happening here. Oh yeah. That's what's happening. Remember that fascism requires a weak, liberal, ineffectual, and soft-penised opposition party to steamroll into submission.
and Trump is elected, and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do.
I did the goodest job that I could possibly do. If I gave it the old college try, then I'll hang my hat on that, even though I just offered the presidency up on a silver platter to my political nemesis.
That's what this is about. Look, George, think of it this way. You've heard me say this before. I think the United States and the world is at an inflection point where the things that happen in the next several years are going to determine what the next 6-7 decades look like. And who's going to be able to hold NATO together like me? Who's going to be able to be in a position where I'm able to keep the Pacific Basin in a position where we're at least checkmating China now? Who's going to do that?
Oh my God,
Who
this
has-
guy is a total criminal. Who's going to hold NATO together? What are you talking about? NATO has been held together for 70-something odd years. Been going on just fine. What do you mean holding NATO together? Checkmating China. Checkmating China. That's right, we need to checkmate China. China's the threat. It's wild, man.
Is that reach? Who knows all these? We're going to have, I guess, a little good way to judge me is you're going to have now the NATO conference here in the United States next week. Come listen, see what they say.
Dude, who gives a fuck about NATO? What American citizens are concerned about NATO expansion or checkmating China? People don't have homes. He's talking about how he's getting a NATO convention in the United States next week. Like, how out of touch is this fucking person?
Mr. President, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Nixon ordered Cambodian genocide. Sent cruise missiles to Sudan, people died. You gave the orders to do drone strikes. Invaded Nicaragua in '85.